The Great Flood of Paris occurred in January 1910, submerging much of the city. The Seine River rose over 8 meters, flooding metro stations, streets, and homes. People used boats and makeshift wooden walkways to navigate the flooded streets. Photographers documented the flood extensively, leaving behind striking images. Many metro stations were closed during the flood, as water poured into tunnels. The Grand Palais and Petit Palais, built for the 1900 World's Fair, were major cultural centers. Automobiles were becoming more common, though horse-drawn carriages were still widely used. Montmartre was the artistic heart of Paris, home to painters like Picasso and Modigliani. Gustave Eiffel was still alive and actively defending his famous tower. The Eiffel Tower had already become a major tourist attraction, despite initial criticism. The Basilica of Sacré-Cœur was still under construction and would not be completed until 1914. The Paris Opéra Palais Garnier hosted grand performances attended by the elite. Parisian fashion was dominated by the Belle Époque style, with elegant gowns and large hats. French newspapers were widely read, with Le Petit Journal and Le Figaro among the most popular. Women were still fighting for their rights. They would not get the right to vote until 1944. The Parisian café culture was thriving, with intellectuals gathering at places like Café de Flore. The famous cabaret Le Moulin Rouge was already a popular entertainment venue. Street vendors sold roasted chestnuts, newspapers, and fresh flowers along the boulevards. The streets were lit by gas lamps, though electric lighting was gradually replacing them. Maxim's restaurant was a favorite dining spot for aristocrats and celebrities. Parisian department stores like Le Bon Marché and Galeries Lafayette were booming. The first women's marathon in France wouldn't happen until decades later, but some women jogged in long skirts. Art Nouveau architecture was at its peak, with elaborate facades and ornate metro entrances. Street musicians and organ grinders were common sights on Parisian corners. Public baths were still used, as many homes lacked private bathrooms. The first airmail flight in the world took off from Paris in 1910. Tourists and locals enjoyed the Ferris wheel at the Jardin des Tuileries, built for the 1900 fair. The Paris Police Museum was founded in 1909 and housed crime artifacts and records. The Gare d'Orsay railway station, opened in 1900, was one of the most modern train stations of its time. The famous fashion designer Coco Chanel opened her first boutique in Paris around this time, revolutionizing women's fashion. Parisian street photography flourished, with photographers capturing everyday life, architecture, and even crime scenes. Aviation was becoming popular, and in 1910, the first Paris air show, Salon de l'Aéronautique, was held at the Grand Palais.